that my chick needs some extra O's. And you know that you need to bring some extra O's. Not in jogging pants either. Tell her with some sexy clothes. Man, my game's so professional. And my shit ain't so fresh, they know. But after.
Okay, we got it working. Sweet.
Yes, sir. All working. How you doing?
I'm fucking hungover as hell right now. I got fucked up last night. I was singing karaoke and.
Oh man. No worries. Well, I had a few sources, so I was gonna let you start it off.
Okay. Well, my basic position is that our government is usually full of shit when it comes to foreign policy. That's the norm. They're normally lying. They've lied many, many times in the past. So there's a good reason to believe they're probably lying again. There's a better reason to not believe than to believe, just given that we have extraordinary claims presented without evidence. So for me, by default, you should be skeptical of any extraordinary claim. If I say I have demons in my closet or something like that, you probably shouldn't believe that. But if I say, I have a red shirt in the closet, okay, maybe I do, maybe I don't. I don't know. But the default position for me would be that probably that's not true until proven otherwise. On top of that, if I have a history of lying about this kind of thing in particular, like I've been caught lying many, many times about saying that there's things in my closet that aren't really there, that would give you an additional reason not to believe the things that I say. So I think skepticism is definitely warranted in the case of the U.S. government, it's particularly on the subject of foreign policy and invading countries that have oil because they have we say they have weapons of mass destruction, but they never do.
Yeah, it's a trust issue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's why I don't believe.
Okay. So I was just reading several articles. As of April 8th, at least 40 were killed in the suspected chemical weapons attack, according to Will Rack over at the Daily Caller. Dozens of people have been killed and hundreds more injured in an apparent poison gas attack near the Syrian capital of Damascus, according to rescuers and opposition groups. In a joint statement with opposition-linked Syrian Civil Defense, Sam said more than 500 people were brought to local medical centers with symptoms indicative of exposure to a chemical agent. Now, so does that mean that the U.S. government might have had something to do with the chemical weapons, or are you denying that there were any chemical?
I don't know that. To me, it's not even clear that a chemical attack even took place in the first place. Like that's not even a fact as far as I'm concerned. That's a claim, and it's an extraordinary claim presented without evidence. And two, even if an attack did take place, it's definitely not clear to me that it was the Syrian government, because that doesn't make any sense, right? It would make more sense for the rebels to use them. ISIS used it like 50-something times in the past. Good reason to think they would use it again because they're terrorists.
Okay. Well, Bashar al-Assad is a brutal dictator that's harming innocent people. So, I mean, there should be some skepticism.
Like brutal dictator, it's a subjective claim. He's a dictator, and as dictators go, he's pretty secular as far as I can tell. If ISIS were taking over large parts of the country and they're getting ready to sack Washington D.C., I could see you. And let's say we had no other alternative. We got to use the weapons that we have. Barrel bombs are fine from my point of view. It's okay to barrel bomb ISIS and other terrorist organizations. Yeah, civilians are going to die in war. That's why I'm generally anti-war. But in the case of ISIS, maybe it's okay to kill these people.
Oh, well, I just keep hearing multiple claims about this chemical weapons. Charlie Spearing over at Breitbart was reporting that the White House issued a detailed list of the use of chemical weapons in Syria, blaming the Assad regime for using them against his own people. Again, this is the U.S. government telling us this, so I understand your skepticism. However, I was watching videos of these kids getting hosed down and stuff like that, so it does cause some concern.
So did you see the video where that same boy in that video who's getting hosed down, RT and other news organizations went and interviewed him, and he said there was no fucking attack. So an actual certified witness that we can say 100%, we can be 100% sure that he was there on that day, right? Any other claims, we don't know. They may or may not have been there. They could be making shit up. Who knows? But what we do know is that boy was definitely there because he's in the fucking video, right?
Yes.
So they went and interviewed that kid. He said, I never got gassed or anything. They just came in and fucking hosed us down and took videos. It was really bizarre. And then they interviewed the doctors in there. They said the same shit. They said the fucking white helmets came in, started hosing people down, and then they left on the bus with the terrorists who were being bussed out at that time.
Wow.
Yeah. No, not now.
So the chemical weapons attack is in your opinion a false flag?
I don't know that. You know, if a chemical attack even took place, which many witnesses who certified witnesses, right, not people who claim to be witnesses, people we know for sure were there, like the actual doctor who runs that hospital and the other doctors who were there. These are certified witnesses. Like, we know for sure they were there. We can go look up the records and see, yep, this doctor actually works in this fucking hospital. So what does he say happened? So if first of all, we don't know that a chemical attack even took place on that day. It may or may not have, but so people who were there say it didn't. Two, even if it did, how would that even prove that it was Assad? Like, where does the source of that claim even come from?
Well, Assad has many reasons for doing what he did.
Like what? Like what? Why would? Okay, so kind of walk me through your basic logic. So Assad is on the verge of victory. He's taken over every other part of Syria that's not backed by the United States and our terrorist allies.
And he thinks that he could get away with it. He could get away with something like
Right. Okay, so kind of walk me through this. So he destroyed all his chemical weapons in 2014. That was presided over by the OPCW. They certified that he destroyed all his chemical weapons that were declared. But he keeps a few on the side just in case, right? That's and he's gassing people kind of randomly. Why did he destroy his weapons in the first place? Why not? If you're going to openly use chemical weapons, why not just keep them?
Because maybe other countries are trying to keep him in check.
Well, that's one theory, and maybe that's why he did destroy them. But then why use them? Well, like, if you're really concerned about that, why use chemical weapons? The one thing that's going to get other countries involved in the civil war that you literally just won. Like, that's the only thing that could keep the war going and prolong it. So why would you do that?
I think it's a power struggle, maybe.
No. So, well, you're assuming that Bashar al-Assad is so incredibly irrational and evil that he's doing things to harm his own interests, right? So you're in your conceptualization of this brutal dictator, right? He's kind of like Dr. Evil. He's not, shooting the spies in the head. He's attaching lasers to sharks and fucking, killing them that way because he's evil and he's crazy.
I'd say more Kim Jong-un is closer to Dr. Evil. I'd say that Bashar al-Assad does evil things, but he's not at the same level. Is
he self-interested? Like, is he self-interested? Is he interested in being in power and being in president? Does he want to be
power? I think is a huge motivation. He
wants to be president of Syria, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and so he does things that help to accomplish that general goal, right? Like, he doesn't want to be overthrown, obviously, right?
Yes. So to keep him in power, to make sure that he has that power, he's sending a message to America saying, hey, look, I'm going to gas my own people, so don't mess with me.
All right, and the response to that is for us to bomb Syria, which is clearly not in his interest in any fucking way, right? Okay. Would we agree on that?
Sure.
It's not in his interest to get bombed by America? Or would you dispute that?
I would agree for the most part.
Okay, so why would he do things that would get him bombed from America and have other Western countries intervening in his country, which he definitely doesn't want, right? He doesn't want the United States getting involved in Syria at all. We're occupying Syria right now. We're totally unwelcome there in every sense of the word. No, we're not invited by the government. We're not supposed to be there. It's probably an illegal occupation. But we can maneuver pretty easily at the UN. We can veto shit. We can make things legal. But for the most part, it's a pretty illegitimate occupation, and we're just occupying their oil fields, and we just happen to be occupying their largest oil field. It's a coincidence, I guess.
Yes. Well, I mean, there have been multiple accusations. Again, it's all speculation.
Well, yeah. So on one hand, we have extraordinary claims presented without evidence. So that's one automatic reason to doubt. Coming from people with a known history of lying about this one particular thing in the recent past, in fact. And then on top of that, there's fucking witnesses there who contradicted this extraordinary claim without evidence, right? Okay. So am I really to believe over this mountain of fucking evidence that somehow this is all true? I don't know. It's hard for me to accept that, okay, then I would have to say Trump is so honest and trustworthy that he's different from every other president that came before him who were totally full of shit about all their wars, right? Is Trump so honest and trustworthy that we can assume that he's so different and that this one time that we're telling the truth and he does have WMD? Well, I doubt it. I highly doubt that's the case. He's probably just like Bush and Obama, making shit up and bombing countries for oil.
Well, I think it's a lot different than the Iraq War. You're doing a lot of comparisons and parallels between the Syrian War and the Iraq War.
What's major ones for you, the differences?
Well, we were already fighting the Syrian War, and the Iraq War was initiated back in 2003 on the claim of WMDs, and at that time, it was all speculation, and they found no evidence of that. Whereas there's some not necessarily evidence, but there's some circumstances to suggest that maybe Assad did conduct those chemical attacks, and that the U.S. government's not just making this up out of their ass. Maybe there's some proof behind it. I mean, I haven't found any solid proof. I can't, give you the forensics. I can't talk to some Syrian citizen and be like, "Hey, did Assad bomb you?" I can't do that. You know what I mean?
Well, what's more likely, the institution with a history of lying about this one particular thing, or Assad is irrationally gassing his people because he wants to prolong the civil war and have other countries intervene in his country and back the terrorists and help them out more, and then on top of that, bomb his forces? That makes sense to you somehow?
The second scenario does make sense, yes. He wants to prolong the Syrian civil war, which technically he's won.
Okay, so the Syrian president of Syria wants other countries in his country backing the terrorists and prolonging the civil war. That's your actual view?
That's how I see it right now, yes. Because I think
all
right, maybe we fundamentally disagree on that. So
that sounds so ridiculous. I mean, to me, it's hard to even take that point of view seriously. For me, that's like flat Earth kind of shit.
Well, you've been very defensive about Assad. What makes Assad so special?
Well, he's not special. That's the thing. Like everyone else, I assume he's self-interested, right? I assume that he wants to be president and he doesn't want to be bombed. These are just real basic things that I would assume about any president of any country, right? I can't imagine a scenario in which a president wants to be bombed by other countries so that he can, possibly be overthrown. It just doesn't make sense to me.
It's a way for him to send a message saying, "Hey, don't mess with me," with the whole chemical weapons attacks.
Right. So his message is, "Don't fuck with me," and our response is to bomb him. But he keeps sending that message for some reason. I mean, clearly it's not working.
I mean, clearly the Russian government has backed Assad, and Assad has been gassing his own people. So I think.
How is that clear? You've already admitted there's no real evidence. to support.
That's just my opinion. I'm trying to find the facts, as I'm sure you are. You're very well researched and a smart person. But
I haven't really looked. I mean, since I wrote about it on my timeline, there's no evidence has ever been produced to support the claim that there was, in fact, an actual chemical attack here. Now, why is it that the people making these claims? Let's interview the white helmets, right? Let's fucking sit them down and have a real journalist talk to them. Say, where exactly were you? Do you have fucking proof you were there? And let's talk to them, rather than these random fucking videos on social media shooting kids down with hoses and stuff. It's like, where is the evidence to support this claim? Because there's people who we know for sure were there saying that never fucking happened.
Yes, I know that. There are some people that are announcing their skepticism. And maybe it's a false flag to push a narrative, kind of like the Iraq War. Even Congressman Rand Paul said that the Syrian chemical attack maybe Assad didn't do it, according to Justin Caruso over the Daily Caller. So I mean, there's only so much information we could gather it's either he's either according to Rand Paul, he's either the dumbest dictator on the planet or he didn't do it. So
yeah.
That's reasonable, but
that's what he's either mentally retarded or he didn't do it. And I think it's more likely that he didn't do it because the mentally retarded don't become president of Syria.
That's true.
We should presume that he's not mentally retarded, right?
No, I wouldn't say that he's mentally retarded.
Right. So, and only a retard would gas their people for that reason. So.
Possibly. I mean, but see, that's the thing. There's been no proof that it happened, but there isn't that much proof that it hasn't happened. So I'm trying to figure out what is okay. So,
how much proof do you have that I don't have demons in my closet? Like what? How much proof?
I don't know whether. Well, I would assume that you don't, but I don't know that you have demons in your closet. I'm not checking your closet. I don't live at your place.
Right. You believe that I do?
No, I don't believe that you do.
Right, by default, right? It's the default position as well. That's probably bullshit, until I see some evidence indicating otherwise.
Right.
It's extraordinary. It's an extraordinary claim. So that the default.
I understand the lack of credibility. I mean, the UN was accusing North Korea of supplying chemical weapons equipment to Syria, according to this article I'm reading, John Hayward over at Breitbart. But then again, the UN doesn't have much credibility because they're promoting the idea of globalism against the whole anarcho-capitalist system that you and I both agree with. So I believe that there's one or two scenarios. Either it didn't happen or it did happen. And I'm trying to lean towards that it did happen, but there's no solid evidence to back it up. So I want to hear a little bit more of your
why are you leaning to that side? Like, it sounds to me like you're leaning towards there might be demons in my closet, and I'm trying to figure out why the fuck a rational person would lean that way in the first place.
Because there's multiple sources that are telling us this, that the chemical attacks happened.
I mean, there's many sources claiming the Earth is flat. Many. There's a lot of people making that claim.
But that doesn't make it true.
Exactly. Yeah. That's my point. Okay. So, I don't know. Like, why anyone can make up any kind of shit. Why would you believe it by default?
Because I'm very optimistic with the way things are going in this country.
And so, again, I don't see how that would. So you're optimistic about the country, therefore I have demons in my closet? Like, I don't.
No, the demons in the closet thing. Okay.
No, because that's how it sounds to me. It's an extraordinary claim presented without evidence. So my default presumption position is probably bullshit, right? Until proven otherwise. And so that's my default position with the U.S. government regarding foreign policy in Muslim countries that have oil. The default presumption for me is that it's probably not about whatever they claim it's about, it's probably about something else, which is almost always the case.
Yes.
So why wouldn't it be is this the one special time when it's not about that? Like, now do we have a real president who's being honest with us about her foreign policy, and Trump is incredibly trustworthy and honest, and he's different from all the others? Does that seem likely to you?
Yeah, I think that's very possible. Bring the establishment on its head. Yes, I think that he's different from a lot of the other presidents that we've had in the past.
Well, it's quite remarkable that you say that, because literally less than a week after Trump first starts tweeting about it and then orders Mattis to fucking come up with some Syrian withdrawal plans, right? And they didn't want to, and he was getting fucking irritated with Mattis because they were giving him the usual bullshit to run around. It's like, oh, it's going to take time to withdraw, and it's going to take a year or two. And he said, no, bullshit. And then they came back again. And it was like, oh yeah, it'll be months, not years. Yeah. And he's like, okay, I'll accept that. Couple days later, out of the fucking blue, somehow the Syrian president decides, after he essentially won the fucking war, they cleaned house of all the fucking terrorists, got them out of there. There's one last fucking city, Dalma, that is still under terrorist occupation, but they've got rid of most of the terrorists there. There's still like some rebels holding out there. And he decides right then and there, after President Trump tweets to the world that he wants U.S. troops out of Syria. Days later, that's when the fucking president of Syria decides he's going to gas his own people after winning the war. That doesn't make no fucking sense at all.
That's a big coincidence. It's a big coincidence.
No, it's like, to me, it's not a coincidence. Like our government has desired regime change in Syria since the Bush administration, and for me, it's not a coincidence that we're in Syria. It's not. I mean, not at all. Well, I don't think we just happened to stumble into Syria. I doubt that's the case.
I'm not going to deny that Trump flip-flopped on that. I'm just saying that the narrative that's being told about Syria is much different than the narrative that was told about the Iraq War. There is no there's no catastrophic event in America like 9/11 that happened before the Syrian chemical attack.
Well, 9/11 did happen before the Syrian chemical attack, and that's
that's years ago. You know what I mean? Like right before. I don't mean like a couple of years. Like 9/11 happened about a decade ago. You know what I mean? Yeah, it still happened before, but you know what I mean? Like there wasn't that boost to give them reason to go to war. We were already in the Syrian civil war.
But were we
around the Obama administration? Go ahead.
But we were involved. But were we bombing Damascus? Were we bombing the Syrian government and bombing their capital?
No, we weren't.
No, we weren't doing that. No. So that's pretty significant. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it is.
Yep. And so your theory involves Bashar al-Assad for some reason desiring to be bombed, right? He wants his city bombed
He doesn't want to be bombed, but he wants to send a message.
Why is he doing the one thing that's going to cause him to get bombed? I mean, why?
I don't think that he predicts the consequences of these things.
But they are predictable, because we did the exact same thing 1 year ago, the last time that he was accused of doing this. And we still don't have evidence from that time. So fucking literally 1 year earlier, he gassed his own people. And we fucking bombed him very predictably. And then he does it again a year later, not knowing that we would do that? So this doesn't add up. This logic doesn't add up in any way.
So if he didn't do it, then who the hell did?
One, maybe nobody.
Okay.
Right? That's like saying, oh, is it the Christian God or the Hindu God? Like, maybe there isn't one. I don't know. I believe in God, but I have to accept the possibility that maybe he doesn't exist. Okay. Two, maybe it was a terrorist. Good, just a much better reason to suspect it was them, given that they've used it 50 times in the past.
So it might have been the Kurds or Hamas or something like that.
Probably not the Kurds, but ISIS or any of those terrorist groups. They're all the same to me.
Okay.
Al Qaeda, whatever. Whatever their name is not important. You know, you can just look at it, see some of what they're saying, and they're
But
terrorists.
I understand your skepticism. I mean, I was super skeptical about the Iraq War when that happened because the WMD claim was absolute bullshit. So I think that maybe, if you are right about this, maybe 3, 4, 5, maybe 10 years from now, they're probably going to say that it was based on a lie. So I hope
I'm saying that now. Like, I guess I'm where you were at with Iraq. Because back then I was an idiot, you know, I was dumb, and I believed in all this stupid shit that dumb people believe in. WMD, ties to Al Qaeda, blah blah blah. So I was dumb back then. Now I'm not dumb. So now I'm not stupid, and I don't believe.
I used to be naive too. I used to be a dumb liberal. I used to believe that I used to believe the 100% official story of 9/11. So I'm on the same boat with you. But I guess my contention is the whole narrative that's being pushed, because let's face it, our government has lied to us in the past, but what makes you think that they're lying to us now about it?
That, what you just said.
In the past.
Yeah, history of lying is a good reason to suspect. You know, if someone is a known liar,
Yeah.
Well, why would you presume they're telling the truth? That makes no sense.
Sorry, I had to get some water. Thirsty.
What's your name, anyways? I don't. Should I call you Red Pill Jew? Is that
Yeah, that's fine.
okay? Red Pill Jew. Cool.
Yeah. That's fine. For sure. Yeah. But I guess that's everything I have right now. Was there any like final points you wanted to make?
Oh no, I'm go play some Call of Duty Zombies.
All right, I love Call of Duty. You're on PlayStation?
Wait, hang on, wait. Do you still believe? I kind of want to make you not a believer anymore.
Well, you made me think. You gave me a little bit of skepticism after this conversation. So I'll do some further research and try to back up your claims by investigating.
Just compare the evidence, right? Just see, like, okay, this side says that there's a claim they have these videos of kids getting hosed down or whatever.
Yeah.
This side has a video of the actual kid who was in that other fucking video. Plus, they have doctors, you know, known verified people who were there who say no, that never happened. So when you're comparing this, and then you have to consider the source of the claim, right? It's like, well, the U.S. and British governments say this, but they also said this about this, and that all turned out to be bullshit. So, you know, given all the totality of information, it seems like it's probably bullshit. You know, there's a better reason to think it's bullshit than not, I would say.
All right. Fair enough. Well, just gets me thinking a little bit because I don't know what to believe anymore.
That's great. Cool.
Listen to everybody.
Because you know what? Back when I was dumb and I believe all that Iraq shit, I was just not thinking. You know, people would say, "What were you thinking?" I was like, fuck if I know. I wasn't thinking at all. You know, just my brain wasn't working correctly, I guess. I don't know. Because now it seems transparently obvious. Like, everyone should have known that this was bullshit. But back then, it didn't feel like that. You know, it felt, I don't know. People were saying that this was true, so I just believed it.
Right. Well, but I mean, who knows? Maybe you may be right. It might be a false flag. So I don't know.
Or it turns out, you know, maybe it's the case that he, you know, for whatever insane reason, he decided to ask people. I have to accept that possibility. I don't believe that, but, you know, it's certainly possible. I'm just saying there's a better reason to think that's not true. You know, I'm not absolutely certain, but, you know, I doubt.
Well, it was great debating you, Bronson.
Hey, yeah, thanks. Same. Thanks, Red Pill Jew. Talk to you.